became a Muslim at that time. That lady now is married to a Muslim man. They have kids. Does she have to change her family name? As you know, this is a hard thing to do, especially she doesn't know the identity of her father or the real father. Also, she expects that some problem would happen between her and her mom because she doesn't accept that her daughter would uh, go back or return back to Christianity. As Sheikh says, Amja has an article about that issue, which is adoption in Islam. As Sheikh says, in Islam, tabanni is haram. It violates all the Sharia laws, but that does not, contradict the rights or the social rights for the orphans and the people that were found without any relatives. Whatever they belong to, like faith or culture or anything. And that's one of the very good deeds that could make you close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But there is an issue when, when these kind of combining, for example, between your kids and these people, the orphans or the people that you found, for example, in the streets or so, or people without like family around, and you want to take care of them or look after them. So the Islam has given rukhsa, or Sheikh said, like the second point here, that the Amja has given like rukhsa, that you can name these people you adopted outside the Muslim countries by the names of the people who are taking care of them financially, if that is a good way. But you have to be taking all the precautions in order to make sure there is no this mix or that haram mix between all of them. So I would advise you to leave the documentation or the identity documentation as is, if it's hard to change. But also be careful. Consider all the Sharia issues that related to these type of, especially the mirath and the mix between them and the other ones. Next question, a lady is asking. She has like a, like preschool or that type of, kindergarten place. She was in her house actually to do that, and she's asking about the meals when the families bring that to their kids. Sometimes they have like pork or relatives of, or sorry, products of pork. Can she offer this or provide this meals to these kids And what about the containers? Washing these containers afterward. So as Sheikh says, we leave the people of whatever faith with their faith and whatever like hukm, for whatever hukm they follow. But we do not help them to follow that ithm or that sin. This is a very special case. So you cannot actually enforce them to use just Islamic or meals that follow the Islamic law, for example, or faith. If you can do it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give you the reward for that. Next question is about buying something from Amazon. Is it haram? Knowing that the owners of these places or this Amazon or any other like website, they support the like the Israeli government against the Muslim people in Gaza. As Sheikh says, to boycott is a part of the Shari'i politics here. If you would like to use it against those who actually kill your people or kill your, country. But this commodities that you actually use is not haram, for example. So again, use it if it's gonna help. But again, in general, all these products are not haram. And follow the people or the scholars in your country, for example, and follow what they can give fatwa on. We have a professor in our university that he does not let anybody to make copies of the the lectures. Some students, they record this one. What is the hukm of that? So, as you know, the copyright is one of the rights that we have to protect. We have to, keep the owners or the publishers or the authors their rights. So, if you cannot get the original copies, if you cannot get the original copies, if you cannot get the original copies, there is a small rukhsa here or a little bit of rukhsa here to use any copy, as Amja has published an article about that, like the software, for example. But again, use it just for your individual use. Do not actually spread this one to everybody. So just make a copy for your personal use or your individual use. Again, is as long as you cannot get the original copy. Again, as long as you cannot get the original copy, because this is the right of the author or the publisher. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. Like somebody is with janaba, then when he goes to make ghusl or to take a shower, for example, and after like he finished like part of his body, he felt like he has to, stop that and start over. So as Sheikh says, it seems like this gentleman or that person has like doubts. He loves with doubts, like with wasawus. So Allah, ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give you shifa, cure, and to protect you, because you would actually need a physician, not a, a mufti or sheikh. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is asking us to seek the cure or the treatment. So I have inherited some antiques. It's made of silver. It's like plates or stuff like that, or containers. Should I pay them? Should I sell them, or there is no haram in keeping that and actually use it as decoration in my place? And am I do I have to pay zakat for that, since it was I was the owner, or I have been the owner since my mother left that behind as my earth or my inherit? She was not aware of the zakat of the silver or so. As Sheikh says, whatever is haram to use, so you cannot actually keep it in your as a property. For example, Al Suyuti said in his book, one of his books, so whatever is haram to use is haram to keep. Like for example, you cannot have a dog if you're not gonna use it for hunting, right? Or for guarding. Like a pig, for example, is haram. And everything that is haram, you cannot actually contain. You cannot have it. You cannot be the owner of it. So for that case, silver, yes, you have to pay zakat. So, as we know that silver is not haram. So that's the first part. What about the zakat of that silver? Well, if it reached that level of, or the quantity of to be eligible to pay zakat for, yes, you have to pay zakat for once it turns a complete year. Again, we are talking about Hijri year. So and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive your mom or your mother from not telling you that about the silver, that it deserve like zakat. Next question. I work with my father. We work on the stock market. I take like 10% of the stocks that we get it for the clients. So this 10% goes to my dad's account, and then I ask the stock market or the stock company I work for to deposit this 10% in my dad's bank account. But he doesn't actually get the percentage of purifying this money. My dad believes, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide him, that loans taken by companies are halal. He actually got that from fatwa given by some sheikhs. He believes that they are right about that fatwa. Is that halal or haram? Am I helping him? I try to. I, c- I can advise him. I can tell him your fatwa. Again, I'm not working except in the stocks that is compatible with the Islamic laws or Sharia. Sheikh also says like Amja, uh, Assembly of Fiqh in America, has published that article, and we have actually talked about it many times about the investment in the stock market. Uh, Again, it has to be like stock market in companies that are halal. Uh, if if it's a haram or they deal with like commercial banks that deal with riba, than the insurance companies or the like the low class media and wine companies or producers or tobacco or like casinos or nightclubs, all of that is haram. Any facility that produces, for example, haram of any type of thing like food or drug or whatever. I mean medications. Somebody would say like all these companies they work in halal and haram, and yeah, most of them, all the knowledge that we know about these issues, yes, there is no one just working in all halal and no one is working on. I'm talking about these big firms or big company investment. So the main function of that company must to be halal, like agriculture, like commercial, like industrial, technical, whatever. It has to be halal. The percentage of this haram part is very small. So the majority of the activity of that company or that facility is halal, and little bit of it is just haram. Whatever that is like expenses or loans or incomes or investment. So some people actually said the haram should not exceed like 5%. And also the debts or the loans that the company is taking from the banks cannot exceed 30%, for example. Again, this is just like ijtihad. This percentage, either the 5% one or the 30%, is again is ijtihad. You have to purify the arbah or the interest or the profits that you make from this company. So you can actually get rid of whatever would make your income is haram. If you cannot do that, if you cannot convince your dad to purify the source or the money that he makes out of that business, So you have nothing except advice and clarify things to him. Take your part and then purify it as much as you can, and then at the end you're going to be accountable for what you do, and your father is going to be accountable for what he does. Is it haram to mention the name of Allah at when you enter the restroom or the bathroom, when you take your shower, or at the sink where you you know, as Sheikh says, every place you get in has a hukm. So you can say that just before you step in, and every place has its hukm. Sheikh says this is question is Sheikh was kind of like didn't get it in the beginning, and then he understand what is the meaning of the question of that person. A man said he likes the zina of an-nisa. We're gonna try to keep that because we are on we had to hit by the time. We're gonna actually start with this question tomorrow, inshallah. I have to make an apology here for not having enough time to take your question and answer it, but I will try to start with this question tomorrow morning. Tomorrow actually in our session tomorrow. جزاكم الله خيرا والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله.